instead of shapes and strokes and colors, we're now using typography. So think about typography as your shapes. Think of the different weights as your strokes, and then think of, yeah, really, that's all you gotta work with. So it's actually a little less complex. Cool. So here what you're doing is, there's sort of a traditional graphic design school project that most designers have to do, and that's a type specimen poster. Very similar to what I showed you guys earlier in the week, where I shaved my head and created typography myself. You guys don't have to create the typography yourself, but I want you guys to get familiar with using a typeface and its different fonts and even some glyphs. So there's a couple of components to this. You're going to be creating an app, right? So it doesn't, I would say mobile app. Let's differentiate from what we already did previously. And you're going to create a specimen where you can go in and select the font based on your persona. So there's a couple of typeface personas in here. Let me show you what those look like. You're not creating an app where you can see multiple fonts. It is an app for one font, so just keep that in your mind. As we go look at these typeface personas, there's a couple of them. Baskerville, it's a little bit more elegant, a little bit more sophisticated, so you have a whole profile on Baskerville, a couple of buzzwords in there. Clarendon is a little bit more bold, a little bit more confident. Futura, contemporary, innovative, you get the picture. You'll use this to help you design your app. So, for example, if you choose Eurostyle, so there's going to be a lot of clean lines, a lot of straight lines, some of them might be a little thin, versus something like Clarendon, which might have a little bit more of like a Western feel to it, right? It's more slab serif, things like that, okay? So the ultimate look of your final app should be relative to the typeface that you choose and the persona that that typeface has, okay? Let's go back a page. So, that's what we're working on. I put a couple of examples in there for you guys. However, when you look at any of these, a lot of them, namely font face, typeface, things like that, they're giving you an example for multiple fonts. I don't want you to do that. I'm just showing that to you as an example. You're just doing it for one font, okay? Now, this is probably the more complex end of the business. This should all look relatively familiar. Sans this section, okay? All of this follows the exact same steps that you guys did for your previous assignment. You'll start with your sketches, your wireframes. Then you'll take those sketches, you'll make them low fidelity, and then you'll pick one. We'll come into class, we'll take a look at everyone's, we'll give everyone some feedback, we'll go into high fidelity. And then from there, you're also going to need to add movement. So it's just kind of taking you guys a little bit further with Figma, okay? Once we get back from fall break, then I can go through and I can show you guys a little bit of animation, prototyping in Figma. Many of you guys already did some in a previous assignment. So if you're feeling good about that, great. If not, we'll definitely go over something. Any questions so far on this assignment? Should feel pretty straightforward. As you go through and as you read through these, I'd imagine that some questions will come up. The big difference between this one is that you may not see the build from the labs going into the assignment, right? Previously, a lot of the labs went into helping you get to the assignment. Now you're kind of building something from the ground up, okay? Yes?
The last point you delivered was?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
The last point you delivered was?
Yeah, so ability to test custom words or phrases within the typeface. You're not going to be able to actually type, right? So the best way to probably do that in your prototype is just have a couple of pre-selected words that they can choose from within like a search bar, something like that. Okay, good question. Unless you're smarter than me and can figure out how to let people type in prototypes in Figma, because that would be super cool. You can't. Don't do that. Cool. Good question. Any other questions? Long, awkward teacher pause. Cool. So I bet you're all sitting there wondering what the heck else are we going to do with today, right? I have a little activity for us, but then after that, the rest of the day is mostly here as a work day. Okay, so you're welcome to get started on this. You're welcome to read through the instructions. I'm happy to answer questions. But before we do that,